Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Fola. If this is your first time stopping by, you're welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back again. Today, I'm going to be talking about the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, AIPP, which is an immigration program in Canada. It's not just for people in Canada alone, it's also for people who have foreign work experience. If you're interested in knowing more about this AIPP and how to go about it and become a permanent resident in Canada, let's get right into the video.
When I walk into the kitchen, you saw the look on my face, you saw the look on my heart too.
So AIPP, just like the name suggests, is an immigration program by the Atlantic provinces in Canada. In case you don't know, there are 4 Atlantic provinces in Canada. We have Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, PEI, and Newfoundland. So these provinces came together and decided to start their own immigration program, which is good. This was launched in 2017. I think initially it was supposed to be for 2 years, and in 2019 they renewed it for another 2 years because it was supposed to end 2021 December. But as of today and a couple months ago, AIPP has become a permanent program. There's no end date for it anymore. It's a very nice thing for them to do, since this is going to bring in skilled people to come into the Atlantic provinces and live and build the economy here. AIPP is an employer-based immigration program, which means you have to find a job before you can apply through this immigration program. It basically helps employers in the Atlantic provinces to hire foreign trained workers or international graduates, and it is open to both inland and outland. When we say inland, people already in Canada, and outland, people outside of Canada. There are 3 streams under the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. The first one I'm going to talk about is the Atlantic International Graduate Program, AIGP, and that is what I used to apply for my permanent residency. To apply under the AIGP stream, you need to have a degree from a publicly funded university in the Atlantic province in Canada. The degree has to be for a minimum of 16 months, 2 years, 2 academic years. It has to be full-time, and you have to have graduated within 24 months before you receive your permanent residency. With the AIGP stream, you don't need work experience. You basically just need to have found a job. In my own case, I just had to do my 3 months probation and my employer applied for me. For almost every economic immigration stream in Canada, you need IELTS exam. But the threshold for AIPP is very, very low. You need CLB4 in the English exam to apply for AIPP. And I think CLB4 is listening 4.5, reading 3.5, speaking and writing 4 in IELTS, which is very, very low. You don't even have to know how to speak English to achieve those ones. So it is a very low barrier immigration scheme. You don't have to be very skilled in English. As long as you can communicate, you're free to come. For AIGP, you don't need to show proof of fund. I did not need to show any proof of fund because I was already working in Canada. And even for all of the other streams, as long as you've started working, you don't need to show any proof of fund. And AIGP is majorly for international graduates. If you have graduated in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, or any of the 4 Atlantic provinces, and you find a designated employer. Now, the thing about AIPP is that you need to find a designated employer. It cannot just be any employer. Your employer needs to be a designated employer. They need to apply to the province and request that they want to be under the designated employers that would help the Atlantic provinces bring people into Canada. Even if you find a job with an employer, you can still tell your employer, if they are interested, to apply for a designation. And when they've applied for a designation and they've been designated by their respective province, then they can apply for you. The employer has to give you a job offer. The job offer has to be full-time. That's at least a minimum of 30 hours per week. And it has to be in O, A, B, or C. Means national occupation class. Canada has its own national occupation class. If you want to know what those are, probably leave the link in the description box so you can see what NOC or occupation code you're going to need to apply for AIGP. So it's going to be full-time, NOC O, A, B, or C. Your designated employer needs to have a confirmation of designation from the province before they can help you apply for endorsement. The job must last at least a year. That's what the letter has to state, that it is a permanent job and it's gonna last at least 1 year with the AIGP. We're gonna move to the next one, which is the Atlantic High Skilled Worker. Unlike the international graduate stream, the high skilled worker is tailored to people who are both in Canada and outside of Canada. With the high skilled program, you need to have worked at least 1,560 hours in the last 3 years, which if you're calculating the 30 hours per week is 1 year. So 30 hours per week for 1 year is 1,560 hours. So you need to have 1,560 hours of work experience in a NOC O, A, or B skill. Because it's high skilled, NOC C isn't there. The job has to be paid. So you can't use an unpaid internship. It has to be paid, and it can either be inside of Canada or outside of Canada. You need a degree. If you don't have a Canadian degree, you have to evaluate the degree that you have outside of Canada. You have to do your educational credential assessment, maybe through WES, just to make sure that degree is equivalent to the one that we have here in Canada. The English exam is also the same. It's CLB4 for all of these AIPP streams. For the high skilled program, you're definitely going to need proof of fund. For one person, the proof of fund is $3,240. For 2 people, proof of fund is $4,034. I'm going to leave it on my screen what the other things are for proof of fund, so you can use it because I don't know them like that. But you're going to need proof of fund. Just like I said before, if you have applied and you're already working in Canada, you don't need proof of fund. And then the third stream is the Atlantic Intermediate Skilled Worker. This is very similar to the high skilled worker, except that with the Atlantic Intermediate stream, you can use NOC C. Those jobs that just require training and they are not very skilled. So it's not high skilled, it's just intermediate skilled. So you can use NOC C. There are 2 options for this Atlantic Intermediate Skilled. The first one is NOC C jobs. You work in a restaurant, you work in the call center, all of those things are kind of like NOC C. And the second option is registered nurses, home care workers, caregivers, all of that. If you're a nurse, if you're a caregiver, if you're support worker, you fall under the Atlantic Intermediate Skilled. You have to apply using the Atlantic Intermediate Skilled program. If you're already working or living in Canada, you don't need to show any proof of fund. If you're outside of Canada, you need to show the proof of fund that I put on the screen in the last one. So those are the 3 streams under the AIPP. The international graduates, you don't need work experience. The high skilled, you need work experience in NOC O, A, or B. And the third one is the intermediate skilled. You only need work experience in NOC C. Same for 1,560 hours, 1 year within the last 3 years. So what is the process like? The process is basically find a job. How do you find a designated employer? I think that is the hardest part of AIPP, finding a designated employer, especially for people outside of Canada. If you're in Canada already, it's not so difficult for you to find a designated employer. You can just apply for jobs and more or less, whoever employs you is basically maybe designated. Employers are more willing to support people that are already in the province than people that are outside the province. But trust me, it is not impossible to find a designated employer if you're outside of Canada. I'm going to leave a link of the list of the designated employers that are in the provinces. I'll leave that link in the description box because the government has done well and has put together the list of the designated employers, people who are designated that can offer you support to bring you to Canada. I'm going to leave that link in the description box so you can click on it, check out the employers. Then you go on Indeed, you try to see if these people are employing. You go to Job Bank, Canada's Job Bank. You go to different employment websites. Do you know what? Another thing that works for people is even cold emailing this organization. So you can literally just send them an email. Hi, my name is this. I am applying for this position in your company. This is my work experience. This is what I have done. Currently outside of Canada. I'm looking to come into Canada using the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program because I see that you're a designated employer. I've done my educational assessment and it shows that I have a bachelor's or I have a master's degree. I have this so years work experience. I've written my IELTS exam and I have CLB 7, CLB 8, whatever CLB you have. Cold email them, write to them what you can offer the company. And trust me, a lot of people have gotten jobs this way because the organization sees that you have something tangible to offer to them. And in exchange for you offering them such a tangible thing, they most likely will be willing to bring you into Canada and sponsor you so that you can become a permanent resident. It's a win-win situation for the both of you. It's not easy, especially COVID times that even become more difficult, but it is not impossible. It is something that you should look into. So when you find an employer that is willing to sponsor you, next thing that I would have to do is give you forms. So I'm going to use my case as an example just to tell you the process that I went through. So when I was done with my 3 months probation, I went to meet my employer. I filled out some forms, which is job offer, all of those things. So my employer gave me the document that I needed. AIPP, before you apply for your PR, your employer does almost 90% of the work. You really have any work to do for the first part of it. So my employer did all of the work, filled out the forms. All I just had to do was sign and confirm some details. And then they gave me the job offer and all of that. The next thing was to get a settlement plan. So a settlement plan is basically a plan that helps you settle in Canada. So it's usually done by, Nova Scotia. The major organizations that handle this in Nova Scotia is ISANS and YMCA. It's basically where they help you, they give you information, they give you materials on how settling in Canada, in the Atlantic province, in whatever province you've decided to settle in, how they can make it simpler for you. They will give you materials on how you can get a family doctor, how you can get your driver's license, how you can do all of that. For me, my settlement plan took about 15 minutes or even less because I'd lived in Nova Scotia for more than 2 years at that point. So nothing is new information for me. Definitely, I know the walk-in clinic. I know how to get my driver's license. I know all of the details. But for people that are outside of Canada, it might take longer. It might take about 1 hour because it is a lot of detail. They have to make sure they are giving you all of the information that you need to settle down in the province of your choice. So after you get your settlement plan, you take it back to your employer signs it and acknowledges that yes, you've gotten your settlement plan. The next thing to do is to submit your document from your employer and the settlement plan to the province for endorsement. Usually that takes an average of 6 to 8 weeks. But the first one I did took, because I did it towards the end of the year, I submitted in November, I didn't get my endorsement until February. So another thing that we need to know is that this, in as much as this AIPP is a permanent thing, they also have a cap. And I think the cap is for each province is about 500 people a year. By the time I was submitting in November, they already reached their cap, so they couldn't process my endorsement in that year 2019. They had to move it onto 2020. I don't know if they've increased the cap of people they want now, but I know as at that time it was 500 people per province, so 2,000 people across all the province per year. So endorsement should take 4 to 8 weeks. My last endorsement that I did 2021 when I had that problem and I thought I was going to start again took 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks. So my employer applied in February, middle of February, and I got it early March. So it took less than 3 weeks when I did it this year. So if you're trying to do it, I don't think it should take that long anymore. When you get your endorsement, then it's time to apply for your permanent residency if you are inside of Canada. The logical step for me at that point was to apply for my permanent residency. Your endorsement will be valid for 6 months. So you have to apply for your PR before 6 months. While for people who will be outland, if you're not in Canada already, after you get your endorsement, the next step would most likely be you applying for a work permit, because most employers want you to come into Canada to already start working before you get your permanent residency. So you apply for your work permit, and I think within 60 days of that application of your work permit, you have to put in an application for your permanent residency. Work permit is way faster to get compared to PR. So when you get your endorsement, you put in your application for your work permit. In less than 2 months, you should have your work permit. You can fly into the country with your family and start working, and then submit your application for PR. And however long it takes to process the PR, it's an average of 6 months. You have to wait for that period. But you know, you're already in Canada, so really there's nothing to worry about. Once you're in here already, you really don't have anything to worry about. Your PR is gonna come if you did it right. So that's basically the process of applying for AIPP. Get a job. Get an employer who is willing to sponsor you. Get a job. Let them do all the paperwork. Do your settlement plan, apply for endorsement. If you're in Canada, after your endorsement, apply for your PR. If you're outside of Canada, apply for your work permit and your PR. And basically that is it. It sounds easy, but I'm not gonna lie, for people who are not in Canada right now, especially with COVID, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's a little bit difficult because I know people are finding it kind of hard to find employers now who are going to bring them into Canada. But then people are also seeing employers. Every day there's somebody finding employers, designated employers who are willing to sponsor them. People are even finding employers that are not designated, and after talking to them, they decide to take on the designation and sponsor you. It's not a hard process. It can take long. It can be a long process, but it's not an impossible process. This is also another option that you can explore to come into Canada. It's not everyday express entry. There are some days that you should consider alternative routes. If you have any other questions about AIPP, leave it in the comments section below, and I'll try to, if I have the answers, I'll try to answer you. That's the end of my video, guys, for today. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, share this video, leave a comment down below. I'm gonna see you in my next video, guys. Bye.